back. It's me, Allie. So, a student of mine submitted a really great question by text message. She had texted me and said, Allie, I read your blog. Allie, I know, that you expected the limitations. You knew you were going to get censored because you're the real deal. You knew that you were going to have information, that they didn't want out there for many different purposes. You knew that people were probably going to mistreat you when you took on your mission in your line of work. And through other things that you've experienced in life too that were less than pleasant, with all of these obstacles and ones that are continuing on and will continue on, like, how do you cope with that? Because it seems like when a person grows in their spiritual journey, they get so far and then whoop, they get slingshotted back, to face another lesson or another change. The reason for that is because you will work on certain things and then leave it off to go over here because there will be events that are focusing on this other change. And then it's like, oh, the universe is throwing you back here to kind of finish up over here because what you learned ahead in this subject, can now be used to add to the one that you just kind of left half learned, bringing it together so that you can fully learn it. So it's a little confusing, but that's how it sometimes works. And additionally, when you do grow a level, you're going to get tested by the universe, by the heavens. They want to make sure you learned. And they want to make sure, not that you really learned, I'm wording this the wrong way. They know you learned, but they want you to know that you learned. Of course, your higher self understands, but do you as an avatar understand now to use it? And if you're not able to use it, then you're not connecting with the higher self because you're not channeling into what you learned. You're not even receiving it naturally as a download, because you're forgetting about, what you just learned before to make changes, to grow, to expand to the next level still. So people will grow and then they'll just kind of go backwards, or, they'll just stay where they're at, but still, facing some of the lessons that they didn't finish up, even though they can still grow without finishing them, because next level will bring more knowledge to go backwards to finish them with. So in this process, that's, very confusing. It's like jumping around in the areas of the tree of life to learn until you can finally put all of the paths together, so that you can get that elevator ride or that clear ladder climb upward. And that's what many people can't achieve because of the inability to see into the chambers of the mind, to be honest with oneself, to be egoless. So in the obstacles and in the lessons, every time you do grow, when you transcend a whole bunch of lessons, and now you are finally like at this next level, your higher self and heaven are all going to test you to make sure that you definitely got it, that you're definitely going to use it by hitting you with a harder version of the lesson that you just learned. It's like leveling up in a video game. Let's say Super Mario Brothers. You're like, do, 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 do. And all of a sudden you're jumping up here and jumping over there. And like, let's say there's like a little lava pit that's like maybe this wide to begin with in the first level. And now next level is very similar, but now there's more boulders dropping down on your head and the lava pit's like this far apart that you have to jump over now. So yeah, it's lava, but now the obstacle is expanded. So people think that as they learn, the obstacles are just not going to be existent. They won't be anymore if you prove you can use what you learned to get over the bigger hurdle. So, and that's because life's going to throw all kinds of things at you. And even sometimes the obstacles that you have faced will come at you in different ways, disguised into different things. So it's awareness at all times, awareness, awareness, awareness. I can't stress that enough. Like I teach this so much, that people probably get tired of hearing the word awareness. But that's what it is. Like, how can you be awake if you're not using awareness? That means that, oh, I'm awake. I can see what I see now, but I'm going to go to work today and tomorrow, and I'm just going to kind of get distracted by work and, go along with, the sludge of time and go home and watch some Netflix. But I'm awake. I did learn a lot. And then at work, as they're going with that, that trudging time, sludge of time, all these things are happening around them that they're not looking at because they're like, oh, well, what do I need to use my spiritual awareness for at work for? And instead, their mind is picking up on different things people are talking about that pertained to something that they needed to hear. Maybe it was a warning, maybe it was a sign, maybe it was a form of knowledge. But nope, they're not using awareness. Oh, something's getting ready to happen to them. It's being shown and forewarned in something that happened to somebody else that, is making a big fuss at the office today. Oh, that's them. I'm going to pay attention over here. No, you need to learn true awareness. You need to learn true awareness. You need to purify your mind from the distractions that this world faces. That's why I always said, I have transcended my physical things. You have to. You cannot, Aleister Crowley, I know a lot of people go by him, but he was the biggest person that promoted giving in to the pleasures, for energy. That's lower vibrational energy. You want to be truly enlightened. You want to have full awareness to work around the matrix that you're in and to, dive bomb certain things and to manifest others. Then you need to have awareness. You need to have that awareness, and you can only have pure awareness when you have transcended the physical pleasures. Because now you're not paying attention to what pleases your body, what pleases your hunger, what pleases your lust, your eyes. You are now looking for what pleases the soul. Okay, so, that means transcending sexual energy, sexual thoughts, any habits, any real sins that are like really proving to be a problem in your life, and not just stopping them to live a better life. Because a lot of people say, oh, well, I don't do this anymore. You're like, I'm on a higher vibe. Yeah, you don't do it anymore, but did you transcend it? It's a whole other story. So with that, and I keep saying it, with that, because I don't know where I left off the last time. I'm trying to find my place here. Having awareness is so important because, you could miss out on like another level test. You have to prove to yourself that you can get through any obstacles using that awareness at all times. And it is going to get more difficult. Things will come more disguised. There will be more distractions and more spiritual interferences thrown at you as the matrix itself and the powers in the system see that you are awakening. They see that you're expanding and you're about to break free. So now they're going to come at you harder too. You're going to get interference from the tests of those above you in the spiritual world, and you're going to get tests from the system that you live in too. That those tests are more like obstacles to stumble you on purpose. So you have to be able to also have awareness in, which of the things is happening there too, or what is your own manifestation as well. So this is all getting to the point, which is, everything in my life I have to cope with because it's using awareness. It's knowing that everything that's happening is either happening through predestiny disturbed. You can go look up the video. I talked about this before. That is when things are projected at you by the system that you're living in, lifetime after lifetime, conforming to the ways of that lifetime. And now, they have the ability to hit you in your weaknesses and vulnerabilities, to purposely obstruct you from getting to wherever it is you're trying to go. Not just on a physical level to succeed in your job or your purpose or money, but also to obstruct you from your spiritual enlightenment and to release anchors and attachments and so on and so forth, and clear out the chambers of the mind into a pure state above 3D so that you can now not only have a better life here, achieve dreams here, but to also, be able to leave 3D entirely forever for good with no remnant to kind of pull you back like a leash. So you have to be able to know what those obstacles are when they're happening and where they're coming from. Is this actually a projected obstacle to hold you back entirely? How can you defeat it? Or is this a test? Because if it's a test, just get through it. Use awareness, recognize it as a test, and then you can see how much you yourself have grown. You can even do that through bypassing the obstacles thrown at you by the matrix, but a lot of people don't have the ability to get through those because it's coming from the reality that you're in and you're connected to that. Even me myself has a small connection to that. I am, a higher vibrational being, yes, but to be here, to interact, to be seen, to be visible, and to be able to speak with everybody and to see what you all see in this reality, I have to be kind of plugged in a little bit too, even though I can plug and unplug when I decide to. But I also don't even have to be fully plugged in. I can run on batteries, so to speak. I can still take what I know and not be connected and still exist here and use that to bypass some problems. But again, because I do have the connection, regardless, whether it's a battery charged one or a plugged in one, if that makes any sense, I do still hit obstructions, that even for me, I can't get rid of, but I can work around. And that's because if you're in a reality and it is imposed by the reality, a part of the reality, and you're a part of that reality, even small, it's going to affect you. And if they keep putting it there, putting it there, putting it there, and they know where to put it in your life and they know how to affect you, even in ways that you don't expect, and they'll know when you're not looking, because since you are connected in this collective, they know every move that everybody makes. Now they're making it so artificial intelligence knows every move that you make, every thought that you have, and so on and so forth. I've talked about that for years. They are reading your thoughts. They know your deep, dark secrets. They know what you desire. For an example, somebody has dirty thoughts and they go and type something up on the internet real quick in the middle of the night, and now that's over, and the next day they're using the internet for school and for, maybe searching for some clothes they want to buy. Now that footprint has just let that artificial intelligence know that this person can totally be held back if those things are put in their face all the time. Not schoolwork, we're talking about shopping and the right items to throw in their face for shopping too. So it's more appealing, and more sexualized content as well. Or maybe a picture of a model on the side that resembles someone that they were desiring on the internet, or a celebrity that they were crushing over that they keep looking up. Trust me, they know how to get you. They will take your focus, your attention, and they will try to keep you. So usually that's how it happens, and they will use like your family, arguments, negativity, financial situations. They'll use anything. But through the tests that are thrown at you by the higher ups, just to see if you bypass through your level of growth, they will get more intense, but they will happen. And then after you pass a test, it's not going to happen in that way anymore. Sometimes even things, Charlie, sometimes even things that you are being tested in will pertain to another place in the tree of life that you're connected in. And that's probably why you're being tested, again and again at a different capacity, unless you've transcended that space. And the space that you are working in, isn't going to have, the same type of need, so there will be new tests that come in the next level that you grow to, as you're switching phases in that tree of life. It's very confusing, but everybody is unique. And yeah, you're going to get that one last exam, so to speak. You're going to get that one last exam to see if you pass. And that's to help for yourself, and to use the wisdom in other ways, because they are teaching you things that, while it pertains to one thing, it can pertain to many, and also to use your awareness as well to see where these are projections of the matrix itself. So I also mentioned projections of your own. People manifest so much negativity in their own lives, and sometimes you don't even realize that you did it on purpose, and that's the interesting thing about all of this, is that people cry about their problems and they cry about their issues. And I understand, if you're not awakened, the problems and issues that you have are going to bother you. They are going to bring you down. They're going to get you. You may dwell in them. You may stay in them. You may never bypass them because it's affecting you, But I'll give you a perfect example of all of this in my own example. So 2018 was a really bad year, right? It wasn't like just 2018. It was like the end of 2017 going into, the beginning of 2018 for just a little period there. Maybe just a little bit of bad luck going on in the energies of the people around me, not me myself, to where I had to look at that. I'm like, why are these people having all these, difficulties, in my personal life? And I had to help those people, but I was affected by what they were going through because I always am. I share in their experiences so they're not alone and so that I can feel it and advise properly. But my own difficult time came, when it was 2018 at the end, carrying on over into the very end of 2019. And it happened so that, within that 1 year, I lost my grandfather, my uncle, and my own dad. And then I also, had an extreme financial difficulties because when I lost my dad, I was very upset. I couldn't work, because I wanted to process. I needed time to process just to get used to him not being here and to honor and rever that he's not here anymore. Also to understand the grief process from human level, because I'll get to that in a minute. But anyway, I not only lost those three people that were very important to me, but my money, yes, I was having difficulties with finances for sure. My father, I always lived with my parents. It wasn't because I needed to, it was because I just love people so much. I love my family so much that that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be with them. They saw me into this world. I want to be there to see them out. And plus, I'm isolated anyway. So why not just stay with my mom and my dad that I care and care about and love? So that's what I did, and they loved me just as much to have me here. Couldn't have a relationship, I have to live, like a nun, keep my energy pure. If I really wanted a relationship, I could, but, it's going to be unfair to that person. They're never going to understand me, especially when I'm like, channeling somebody else and the energy's coming out and it's making me, very, I would say, not distracted from, my partner, but it's putting more focus onto the person that I am channeling. And a good example is this. There are people that are hurting that contact me every day, and when something goes wrong for them, like, it'll bother me for them. Like, I will cry and I'll say, man, I really feel bad for this person. I'm so hurt that they are seeing their path as a struggle. If they could just see what I'm saying, they wouldn't look at it as a struggle as much anymore. They would see what they're to learn, and they could utilize that wisdom to make things better. But I feel their pain, and I feel so bad for them. I really, really do. And I'll just kind of like withdraw and pray and ponder and try to send positive thoughts to help them heal a little bit. And then I'll come back and I'll say, man, I just can't believe that this individual is just really going through a hardship, and I just need some time, to just be at one with their energy and to pray and to try to help, as long as I can today, as long as I can. Or it will be several people. So I take it very personal because I love people that much, and a partner isn't going to understand that. They're going to say, hey, that's their problem. You gave them the advice, let them do what they have to do. Why are you getting so emotionally involved in it? So, they're also not going to understand that, I can't give a lot of intimacy either because my energy has to be pure. It has to be pure. I'm not saying I can't be intimate. I've kind of transcended that area. So, if I was to be intimate with somebody, it's not going to feel, as good to me. It's just going to feel, I would love to have an energy exchange with somebody more, because that is on a spiritual level. More so, than the physical flesh. But, people that you're with are going to want that, and of course, you don't want to deprive anybody, but that's why I've never really had a partner, because I didn't want to deprive anybody. They don't know about energy exchange, and, of course, they're not on the same frequency as me to do an energy exchange. But I am allowed to have children and so on, so I'm not totally alone. But also to add to that family, I had my parents and the few partners that I had for the short periods of time that I had them. I'm very lucky, that they understood the situation too. Still, going on to what we were talking about here, I take it personal And I know, how important it was to be there for my parents. And being here, losing my dad, it was hard. It was hard financially too, because he helped a lot. He's a very generous man. I always offered, hey, Dad, let me help, let me pay. And he would let me pay for things, but sometimes he'd say, hey, don't worry about it, save up, or hey, I got it, just please take care of yourself and your kids. And he was an amazing man. So losing my dad, losing my uncle, my grandpa, and then also, with my father gone, couldn't really work very much. I did have readings that were back ordered. Some were coming in, but I had to delay doing them. And additionally, I wasn't getting as many new orders around that time either. So, like I said, I'm not a wealthy person. The income I have just gets me by, helps me feed the family, and helps me to donate too. But I live very modestly. With that being said, having less income than what I normally have definitely hurt, in trying to pay bills and take care of everybody and feed everybody, for sure. So my mother never even had a job either, so she couldn't contribute. I'll get to that in a minute. So going into other things that happened, I was feeling a lot of the pain that some of the people that I was coaching were going through, because they were still kind of working through some things. So that was coming from different places. And I also, definitely felt what was coming in the world as well. And for the people that did say they believed in me and kind of harbored doubts too, I was seeing that at all times. That hurt. And I had hidden enemies, always there. And some of them were kind of coming out. So with all of that happening all at once, then being censored even more, because the censorship sometimes comes off a little bit, sometimes it comes off entirely, and then it goes back on. And it's been an up and down roller coaster ride this whole time. But I got hit hard around that time, because I know that they knew I was going to put the predictions out there, and I had already started to a little bit. So they're like, no, shut her down. We don't want the people knowing what we're about to do, because then they're going to question us, and we're not going to be able to get away with this the way that we need to. So yeah, had some visibility, but not much. And the Angels website did, but people had to know to look for it. And they won't know to look for it if they can't see me in YouTube researching spiritual things, world prophecies, and so on, because the YouTube channel was hidden. You can still find it if you search for it, but you have to know about me to search for it. So I still had a lot of views coming from people, word of mouth, and throughout the years, people had just suddenly thought about me to go look. But the point of all of this is that with all these horrible things happening, my friend / student wanted to know, like, how do you deal with all that? That is like, a lot. And she wanted to know, because she goes through, some difficulties at times, and it gets to her occasionally, just admittedly, she's still working that way. So it all comes down to manifestation. Oh, and the other thing was, like, my house, the heater, it totally back puffed a bunch of black soot all over the only furniture that I had. Couldn't buy new stuff. The walls, the ceilings, everything was covered in black. And, without financial assistance, you can't buy new furniture. You can't get the house cleaned professionally like it would need to, because you can't scrub it. It's going to leave black streaks. It's going to leave, it's going to leave like mud all over the place. Furniture needs to be upholstered. That's even costly if you go that route too. So if you paint over it, it's going to bleed through as well. So all that happened. All right. So it comes down to manifestation. Okay. It really, really does. Why did I lose my father? Well, I channel all the time. And I see people that want to connect with someone that they lost. And I know that they are hurting, and I feel their hurt. But I see the other person on the other side, and I know they're just going through a transition. They're not dead. They're just in a different form. They may not be able to communicate with them. They can find somebody who can, and, still have some communication, but the dynamic changes. Your uncle may not be your uncle anymore, He's moved on, but he still exists, and he's going to the next part of his journey or coming back, either way, he's not gone. People will miss them, And that's the thing. They don't want to lose that person because they want them in their life. They need them in their life. But that person obviously needs to go on for their journey. And so losing my own dad taught me, how a person perceives that, of not having that loved one in their physical life every day. I'd never had loss before my grandma, but she lived far away. And my dad was here every day, So I was able to see, even though I know my dad's not gone, even though I know I can communicate with him, it taught me a lot about what people experience, from a human side of things. And I needed that, because now, I can see those angles. I can say, hey, look, I know you're hurting and I know you miss him or her, but they're just in a different, form. They're just in a different experience. Just know that eventually they're going to work through their karma and you'll possibly cross paths again. Yeah, but it wasn't as easy as saying that to them, even giving them a message from, their loved one that was gone, telling them it was okay to move on, it was okay to let go, they'll be missed and loved, but, it's okay to not be sad. They still couldn't process that, and I'm sure they were like, why would she tell me, that I don't need to be sad? I'm sad, I just lost my relative. I didn't mean to be insensitive, but, that was true. They were just in a different form. They will meet again at some point, unless their soul ties are cut, which the majority of them weren't, People request that, but, for people seeking to connect with their deceased loved one, usually that's not the case. So now I know from a human perspective what it's like to lose somebody so important to you physically, and I also see it from the angelic standpoint of that person going into that transformation of their journey. It was a manifestation of my own, and of my dad's too, because, he had cancer, and having that cancer, he wanted to go. He wanted to go. So he manifested passing on. That's why I could see when it was going to happen. I told my family exactly when it was going to happen. I told my daughter when to get his room ready for the process to begin happening. And it was like exact date too. So overall, it was a manifestation of my own. And I'm telling you, I learned a lot. My dad, moved on. He learned a lot. And another thing is the financial aspect. That was not my own manifestation. That was a universal manifestation for my mother. Like I said before, she never had a job. She always relied on my dad, never had any independence. Now she had to learn to be responsible, with any money that she did have, and to appreciate it more, not to just always think it's always going to be there and just, whatever. So she got to learn that lesson, and if I would have been financially okay at the time, she would have never learned it, because she would have been relying on me. So you see how, when you are in a collective, such as a family, you're learning together, you're within that unit, what happens to one person is definitely going to affect you in some way, because you're all connected, so you're there for those lessons, So she got to learn that lesson. And the thing with the house was also a projection of my own, because I didn't want to live here anymore, So, hey, something's wrong with the house, we got to move, so therefore it gives us an excuse to move. Just kind of touching base with the censorship issues, that's a matrix manifestation all the way. And I think sometimes a little bit of my own as well, because I think if I ever got to that huge level of growth, that I wouldn't be able to handle it, Like I said, I get a lot of positive feedback, but I do have some enemies and I do have some negative projections and attacks. I really do. And I can't even handle the few that I have, because it hurts me so bad inside as a pure, loving, unconditionally accepting person. To see people that vicious, it just breaks my heart. So if I got any more known out there in the world, think of how many more of that I would experience, or how much more rather I would experience that. And I probably just, wouldn't be able to handle all of that coming at me, because I'm so used to back home in the heavens where it is loving. Even just being here in the time frame that I have been here in, has been difficult to accept the corruption, the crime, and the hatred. I understand it. I know why it's here. but it's still hard on me. Where's the love? So I think it's partially a projection of my own to safeguard myself from getting hurt, more so in this world than I need to. And additionally, looking at, some of the other things that I mentioned too, you know, um, we talked about, losing my dad. We talked about censorship, financial issues, the house. Um, so I think that pretty much covers it. Manifestation comes from many different things and sometimes two things at once. Manifestation comes for lessons. It comes from within yourself, to create a doorway, of learning something or a new opportunity or a reason to change, because otherwise you may not. So now, whoops, here's a reason. So I mean, manifestations come in all different ways. If people could purify the mind and get rid of all the negativity and the worries, they could manifest great things. And of course, they're going to have opposition from the matrix and some tests along the way from higher self. But the idea is you can manifest better things if you have the right method of doing it and a pure, positive mind to do it with.